I have a sore throat. Alright, it's Friday, July 18th. Let's talk PlayStation. Definitely another very interesting news week for PlayStation, as I'm sure you're all well aware. And even if you're not, I'm sure your interest is now piqued by the video thumbnail and title. But let's get into it, right? So, well, first off, yesterday there was some PSN downtime. PSN was experiencing some trouble. People couldn't sign on. Sony addressed the issue, saying that, yeah, we've got a high volume of users, so you might not be able to sign on. Part of that was probably more than likely also due to the fact that the Destiny beta was going on, so a lot of people were trying to play that. But, I think the one interesting thing to take away from this is, and this is something I would advise you all to do, it's one of those situations where, be vocal about this. I mean, you've bought a PS4. It now requires PlayStation Plus to play online, or at least most online games. This is definitely one of those situations where we deserve to see less of this stuff happen, because PSN is extremely... It does this all the time, right? There's tons of times where it goes down. Users have trouble signing on. It needs regular maintenance. The PlayStation Store never updates on time. It's never consistent that way. I mean... We're still seeing it how many months into the PS4 lifecycle. Granted, it's still under the first year, but I mean, we really do deserve to see better from this. So if I were, the majority of you, and you're tired of this because you are paying for PlayStation Plus, you have to pay for PlayStation Plus to use those to play online. I would at least maybe tweet Sony employees, or comment on the PlayStation blog or something. This is one of those scenarios where, yeah, we deserve to see less and less of this, for sure. And it's also pretty ironic because Xbox Live was also having troubles yesterday with people signing on and everything, and that's rare for Xbox Live. Like, it's funny that it happened the same day as PSN, so maybe it diminishes the fact that PSN was down, but dude, PSN does that all the time. Xbox Live never has issues, so, but it is funny how they both happen the same day. Okay, let's talk about that Uncharted movie. Apparently it is still happening, and it's going to start filming in early 2015. Seth Gordon is going to be the director currently. Who knows if he'll stick around or if they get a new director or whatnot. But what's interesting is we got a director. No person has been picked to play Nathan Drake. But the film is scheduled for early 2015 filming, so... I mean, they better do something quick. But while we're talking about Naughty Dog, regarding Naughty Dog, let's go on to some more Naughty Dog specific stories. Like The Last of Us Remastered, it's finished, it's gold, it's printed, the game is pretty much going to be ready for its July 29th launch. Naughty Dog has detailed a few things about The Last of Us Remastered. One thing being, the game has a photo mode, so you can, much like Second Son, snap a shot, kind of move it and toy around with it, add filters to it. That's pretty cool. What's interesting is that Naughty Dog said they put in a 30 frames per second lock option in the game. So if you want, you can lock the frame rate to 30 frames per second rather than 60, which Naughty Dog is saying the game is a very fluid 60 throughout the entire game. Which I find very odd because, for example, Infamous Second Son or Killzone Shadowfall might make sense there because those games don't have a fluid 60 frames per second. It dips a lot, and that's sometimes disorienting for some people, so you might want to lock it there. But if it's a fluid 60 in The Last of Us, it's kind of odd why. Naughty Dog says they put it in there because PS3 purists want that option and they don't want to lose the cinematic feel, and I don't know, that's just... really? I mean, 60 is clearly better. But that's interesting. What's really interesting about it is that how Naughty Dog detailed it. They went kind of in depth about this, where it's like the team said, a lot of members on the Naughty Dog team said some of them were kind of sketchy about doing 60 frames per second. Like, they didn't know if it would look good, that it would look too fluid, and it would look unnatural. And I guess that kind of really shows that a lot of the team at Naughty Dog, these guys are technical masters. I mean, they're creating beautiful games. They're creating great storytelling, but they're primarily console gamers, and it's funny because you see a lot of comments and threads and forums nowadays, and there's always the the PC people in there shouting off about their powerful rigs and how they can do 4K and 20,000 billion frames per second. And just goes to show, dude, consoles are still pretty damn relevant when the people making multi-million-dollar games mostly play consoles. Because, again, if Naughty Dog, if the Naughty Dog team is, sketchy about 60 frames per second, it means they don't even play that many 60 frames per second games, It's just funny to me. I mean, that's how I see it. I'm not trying to pigeonhole the whole Naughty Dog team there, but, you see what I'm driving at, right? But now let's talk about the most important thing, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon news. That's right. Now, the last time we talked about this, long time ago on Let's Talk PlayStation, it was kind of odd because Sony Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts would tweet pictures of Crash and stuff, and then, you know, there was that PlayStation 4 commercial with, like, Crash on a road sign, and back then I was telling you guys, like, you know, I didn't believe that Sony was doing anything with Crash Bandicoot. I was, you know, back then I was saying, like, there's no chance that would happen, but at the same time I was skeptical because there's a reason behind everything, right? There's, you know, why would they do those things? Especially a commercial that was, you know, like a film, like filmed and everything strategically placed. Like, things happen for a reason. So, I said, you know, like, keep an open mind and everything. But that was a long time ago, so I guess, like, you know, nothing happened. But, okay, so now we're caught up. So here's the present day news. Naughty Dog did recently, they did a fan art contest. So people could draw up pictures of Naughty Dog characters and send them on in. And people on the PlayStation blog asked, can we draw Crash Bandicoot? And PlayStation's community strategist replied to people saying, no, you can't. People said, well, why can't you ask Activision? And he replied back saying that they asked, and they said it's not something that they can offer to the fans. So basically, Activision said, no, don't, you know, that's our property, we don't want you to do anything with Crash Bandicoot. Which kind of sucks because this news story and the next news story kind of really makes this whole situation fall into place. So before I give you that whole detail, let's go on to the next news story, which is President and CEO of Sony Computer Entertainment, Andrew House, mentioned how they have talked about it, right? They have talked about doing Crash and Spyro the Dragon again. And I'll maybe throw up a quote of what he said or something, but and you can pause the screen to read it. But he more or less said, like, yeah, these are characters that we always think about. We want to revisit them for sure. You know, games in the past can be brought back. You know, people that grew up with these games, you know, that kind of speak, right? But you know, it's like it's right in the wording, and then right with this Naughty Dog story, it kind of pretty much tells you that this is how I would interpret it. Sony definitely wanted to do Crash Bandicoot again. They definitely wanted to do another Spyro again. I think for sure they would want to do these games again. The problem is Activision. It has to be Activision. It's just one of those situations where I guarantee you, Sony wants to do Crash Bandicoot again. They want to do Spyro again. They want to either make another game or buy the rights back or even just use them, like for a fan art contest, or when they definitely tried to get Crash Bandicoot and Spyro in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. They definitely tried to. The reason why they were never in the game is because Activision said no. I mean, I think there's just enough concrete proof to tell you Activision is not letting go of them. They are not. But I guarantee you, like Sony Computer, come on, they totally want to do this. They want Crash back. They want Spyro back. I'm sure they've made offers. I'm just going to assume Activision is either asking too high of a price, or they just do not want to let go of those franchises. Because maybe they do have something planned with Crash, and they are doing kind of like Skylanders with Spyro. But that's how I would interpret it. It's unfortunate, but, you know, hopefully Sony being vocal about the interest they have in Crash and Spyro, they'll continue to pursue possibly getting Crash and Spyro back. Now, keep in mind, I don't know any of this for a fact. This is simply how I am seeing it. I would assume that's happening, but, like, again, I'm guaranteeing you guys, dude, Sony wanted to do Crash and Spyro again. Why wouldn't they want to do it again? Okay, let's talk a little bit about my man Mark Cerny, the PS4 architect. He was talking about at the Develop Conference. Now, last week we talked about the Develop Conference, but now some more interviews are coming out from that conference. And Mark Cerny talked about how he would love to do a Knack 2. He would like to, you know, visit that brand. He would like to, you know, go back to games, and that is what he's doing right now. Apparently, right now he's working on a smaller scale digital title that's more, I would assume, like, you know, artistic or kind of an out there kind of idea. That's at least how he's making it sound. But he did say he would like to do Knack 2 again. Mark Cerny also went on record to say that he's surprised at how many people are writing off the new consoles as if consoles are dead or that they're going to die. die or something. Pretty much kind of he remarked about that, right? It's like, oh, how could people think PS4 is going to die that quickly? Or I can't believe Sony's making another console. It's just one of those things where it just kind of goes back and forth. Back when the PS3 and 360 launched, it was like PC gaming's dead. PC gaming's on the rise again, and that's great. But now it's like, oh, consoles are dying. When realistically, PS4 and X1 have been doing phenomenal, and they've been selling faster than the same lifetime of where the PS3 and 360 were at. So, but good on you, Mark, calling out the bullshit. So let's talk about Ken Kutaragi. Please tell me you know who Ken Kutaragi is. He's essentially the father of PlayStation. He was the hardware architect for PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and PlayStation Portable. He's not with Sony anymore. He's on the board, but he doesn't, he's not involved or anything like that anymore, majorly. But what's interesting is that just recently it was revealed that he does visit Sony Computer Entertainment often. He goes to their offices. He's very pleased with how the PS4 is doing, and that he might actually collaborate with Sony Computer Entertainment again in the future. In terms of what he would do or what kind of project it would be, like, we don't know at all. But it's good to know that, the original man who started it all, who pioneered the entire PlayStation brand, is he's still sticking around, and he's liking where PS4 is going. Good for you, Mark Cerny, because he's essentially Ken's successor. So this next news story is rather bizarre, but speaking to Eurogamer, Andrew House, Sony Computer Entertainment President and CEO, said that Sony is trying to essentially target previous Wii owners of the previous generation, people that bought into the Wii and possibly didn't buy 360 or PS3. Sony would like to get some of those customers and buy them into the PS4 early in the PS4's life cycle. And that's kind of odd, because why? I at least think it's fair to say a lot of people that only owned a Wii, are more or less probably really casual consumers. The Wii did sell a lot of units, and let's be fair, it sold a lot of units to people that are not, like you and me, that watch gaming videos on YouTube, follow gaming news. Like, they aren't, like, they're not involved in the industry, because, they didn't even own 360s or PS3s. They were really, really casual people. So I find that odd that they'd want to target those customers. I mean, a system sale is a system sale, so guess I can't exactly blame the guy for wanting to sell PS4s. Alright, and to end off this episode of Let's Talk PlayStation, it was announced through NPD that the PlayStation 4 was the best-selling console last month. Now this is particularly interesting because, of course, PS4 is doing well, but this was the first month that Microsoft had a full month of the Xbox One at a $400 price point without Knack, putting it right in line with the PlayStation 4 in terms of price. And Xbox did good. Microsoft doubled the sales of the Xbox One the past month, but they still did not beat PlayStation 4 in NPD numbers, which is, great news for Sony, I'm sure, because Microsoft's been doing everything to try and at the very least outsell Sony one month, whether it was all these Titanfall bundles, extremely aggressive marketing, now removing Knack from the box, making all these great choices that are great for gamers, like, removing the gold paywall, games with gold on Xbox One. Really awesome initiatives, but man, they just cannot take 1 month back. And this is America we're talking about. This was the territory that Microsoft dominated last generation. So, man, Sony's doing really good. That's crazy. I did not think Sony would beat them for June. See, sometimes you guys get mad at me because I'm too hard on Sony, or I criticize Sony too much, or you say, oh, why do you even do a PlayStation show? You just rag on Sony all the time. Hey, man, they're doing really good. I'm telling you right now. Man, I don't know how this sounds in the audio, but I in person sound like shit, let me tell you. That concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. There was no Ryan on Gaming this week, as you can clearly see, because there's no picture here. But it is coming next week. The one I had scheduled for this week it got pushed back. There was a lot of editing involved in it. It's a really good episode. It's like a 15-minute video with a lot of graphics, details, and everything. I worked hard on it. I try for you guys. But it's a big discussion of independent developers versus AAA retail releases, downloadable games versus retail releases. That big, you know, fuss that everybody's been talking about recently. I break down some hard facts for you guys, some hard numbers, really give you some insight on that whole sort of situation. And like I said, I worked on that video, so that'll be uploaded this coming Wednesday, so please give it a look. Alright, again, that concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan Panecki. Thank you so much for talking with me, and I'll see you guys all next Friday.